This meeting will come to order. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to our regular June meeting of the Best Davie Hills Board of Education. I'd also like to recognize and welcome our new member, Mr. Steve Bendall. Steve, we're fortunate to have you on the board with us. And you are fortunate to be seated between Mr. Boone and Dr. Baker for obvious reasons.
You can ask questions either side. So.
Well, they tend to stay out of trouble, too. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda, which is displayed on the screen. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes of the June 12th meeting that have been distributed to you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Phillips to introduce our delegation.
All right, we had one delegation, but I don't believe that I've seen Shayna come in. So we will skip over the delegation then. She has to be on the agenda, and I would suggest that if she does come in, then we make room for her to talk for us. So time for administrative reports, and we've asked for a facilities update. So Brennan, if you want to go ahead.
All right, I think it's been about a month and a half since I last gave an update, so a lot's been going on in the construction world since then. I've taken Liberty Park off this update just because that project's wrapped up. It's completely done, so just want to repeat that every month for you. At Cahaba Heights, the gym project's done, as we've discussed in the past. The one thing that's still going on, or two things, is they're finishing up some exterior landscaping. I expect that to be complete end of next week. Part of that project was also a re-roof of the existing kitchen roof. That's scheduled to be complete next Friday, assuming we get good weather between now and then. They need about 3 days to complete that. So upon completion of those two items, that should wrap up that project. We've looked at some of these pictures in the past, but here's the completed exterior of the gym and interior. Moving on to the next phase of projects at Cahaba Heights is the classroom and media center addition. We've already bid this project, awarded, and we're in the contract execution process right now. Have talked with the state inspector. He has agreed to go ahead and allow us to start with demolition of the existing gym and existing canopies on the exterior of the building while we're getting that fully executed contract. So demolition has begun to help us stay on track for completing that by the end of the summer. Two other critical components of that project are there's a power relocation and a fiber relocation that serves that school that has to be completed by the end of summer, not to disrupt normal operations. So on track to complete that, and that demo was the first step of completing that. So if you look at the pictures, you can see the canopy off the end of the building has come off and been demolished earlier this week, starting some interior demolition, and then they'll move around to the gym next later this week. At East, progressing, the structural steel is done, the CMU walls are about done, brick is ongoing. Coming up with that, getting close to topping out on that. The roof is ongoing over the kitchen. Recent rains have impacted that, but trying to get dry weather to finish that up. They'll move to the cafeteria portion roof after that, which is the larger span. If you look at the facility, the big beams here are the cafeteria portion. That's the main portion. That's the largest section where the roof will be installed. The kitchen's back behind it. Roofing has started on that. You can see some brick on the outside, CMU walls going up. So getting close towards working towards drying in that building to start interior finish work. So making good progress, still on track to finish in September. At West, I think since we talked last, that project had not begun. That project has now started and made a lot of progress, working towards finishing that the end of this summer. So demolition has started and been completed. They've thrown up the new walls, roughed in all their mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire sprinkler above ceiling. You can see they already got prime paint, first coat of paint on the walls. So the next step here is to put in the acoustical ceiling grid, install ceiling tile, and then they'll start on their millwork, their interior finishes. So on track to finish end of summer. And this, along with some exterior work that connects the existing school towards and the upper Board of Education offices. There's 4 upper offices that are being converted into classrooms. That exterior work is also on track to finish for the start of school, finish the end of this summer. So this, along with that, is one package that's progressing on track. Also at West, we had the bid of the kitchen cafeteria. If you'll remember, this is a rebid. This originally bid last fall. Had a property issue with being on some city property and some covenants and restrictions of that land associated with that. So this project's been redesigned to be completely on Board of Education property. It was rebid with that design. Bids came in well. Our budget that we were carrying was $6 million. The bid last fall was 5.8. This one came in at 5.4. So about $400,000 cheaper than that, and some movements of the building and some kind of VE options that we implemented helped reduce that bid number. So came in under budget, and we are recommending award of that contract this evening and have talked with the contractor. They've confirmed their bid, so they're comfortable moving forward. So upon award tonight, assuming that goes through, we'll start construction in July on that project.
Brennan, because that's new construction, will that be disruptive to anything during the course of the school year?
The plan with starting it in July is to do the majority of the demo. There are going to be some typical construction disruptions. There's drill piers associated with this work, which is driving a piling into the ground. So there's going to be some noisy weeks, but any kind of excavation or fill will be coordinated. We'll try and schedule testing times or sensitive noise times with Kim and with our staff to make sure that for those disruptive times we try and target good weeks for that to occur. But like any construction, there's noise associated with it. There's disruptions. We'll just try to be as accommodating as possible. And that's it as far as ongoing projects or about to get started projects. Have had more BOE meetings, BOE planning and programming meetings since last month. Had one earlier this week with the POSIT staff to walk through the building to start discussions of what things they envision for that building, how they could renovate it, how we could rework some areas. So moving forward with the BOE project as well. That's all I got for this month. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Brennan. Thank you. Greg, financial report?
All right, the information in your packet is for the month of May. Happy to report. I'll give you the really good news first. As of today, we are $92,000 above what our projected local revenue was for the end of the year. We still have 3 months to go. Mostly what we collect in those months are car tags, and that averages somewhere between $300,000 and $450,000 a month. So we're looking at possibly somewhere between $900,000 and about $1.2 million, $1.3 million additional revenue coming in for this year. That will help out a lot because we did do a budget amendment back in February, and we did increase the technology budget by $750,000 to cover replacing all the teacher laptop computers. So increase in revenue has offset that budget amendment amount, budget expense that we have. As of May, though, We were at 98.9% of the budget. Last year at that time we were at 96.26. On expenditures, currently we're at 68% of budget. Last year we were at 66.24% of budget. We do have some purchase services items that are a little bit out of line, but when you look at what the overall budget is by category, the grand total for expenditures are still tracking approximately where they should be somewhere in the 68 to 70%, which is about what we would expect at this time of the year. All board bank accounts have been reconciled through the month of May, and that's all I have to report. Oh, other than get ready, public budget hearings are coming, and I am working on that right now. So,
Thank you, Greg. I recommend that the board approve the financial statement for May 2017. Board bank accounts have been reconciled through May 2017.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the financial statements for May 2017 as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7, I recommend that the board approve the following consent items: out-of-state and/or overnight trips, student transfers for the 2017-18 school year, and disposal of property, please.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the following consent items: out-of-state and overnight trips, student transfers, and disposals of property as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8A, I recommend that the board contract with Cooperative Strategies to complete boundary planning services, and the board accept their proposed fees to include the baseline services and add-ons number 1 and number 2. I am also recommending that the board contract with Cooperative Strategies to complete an annual enrollment projection and proposed fees for option 1A. Both of these were discussed at the May 17, 2017 board meeting.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board contract with Cooperative Strategies to complete boundary planning services, and the board accept their proposed fees to include the baseline services and add-ons numbers 1 and 2. She is also recommending the board contract with Cooperative Strategies to complete an annual enrollment projection and proposed fees for option 1A, as was discussed at the May 17th board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Anything?
We looked at those fee structures.
Now, I really
in
like
May.
the online portal that they'll have where the community can enter an address and see exactly where it's zoned. Kind of takes the guesswork and adds certainty to it. And
Communication piece is going to be a
Yeah.
big deal.
really
Right. Yeah, they had a-
Brennan, anything that you would add to, other than the discussion, or anything that you would touch base with on there?
I mean, I agree. I think doing the whole package and both add-ons is wise. I'm talking with some Cooperative Strategies personnel. They've said that's what most school systems go with. They said the ones that don't usually regret it and end up coming back and doing it later. So I think it's wise to do both at this time.
Can we
Right, and then we'll
link
just
your
go-
email to the portal?
You can do pretty much whatever you'd like with while he's not here.
Exactly.
Just know it's going to come back to you in one form or another.
And we decided that we just wanted to update that enrollment projection that they had previously done for us that we were pleased with. So this looks like a good contract for us. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8B, I recommend that the board approve the low bid from Wyatt General Contractor, LLC, in the amount of $5,451,000 for addition and alterations to Vestavia Hills Elementary West, Package A, new kitchen cafeteria, as submitted.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the low bid from White General Contractor, LLC, in the amount of $5,451,000 for additions and alterations to Vestavia Hills Elementary West, Package A, new kitchen and cafeteria, as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All right,
Or fear
any
the wrath of
discussion?
Kim Hauser.
This was presented and this is in our budget, so any other questions or comments? Do I hear a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry, we have. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Item 8C, I recommend that the board approve the contract between Wyatt General Contractor LLC and the board in the amount of $5,451,000 for addition and alterations to Vestavia Hills Elementary West Package A, new kitchen cafeteria as submitted.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the contract between Wyatt General Contractor LLC and the board in the amount of $5,451,000 for additions and alterations to Vestavia Hills Elementary West Package A, new kitchen cafeteria as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, so this is just approving the contract for the bid.
And this is where Mark Hogwood would say, Mr. Boone, have you read the contract? I have read the contract.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8D, I recommend that the board approve the owner-engineering agreement between Stewart Engineering Incorporated and the board in the amount of $70,000 for replacement of all feeders, wiring, and conduit serving the 8 existing light poles at Vestavia Hills High School baseball field as submitted.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the owner-engineer agreement between Stewart Engineering Incorporated and the board in the amount of $70,000 for replacement of all feeders, wiring, and conduit serving the 8 existing light poles at Vestavia Hills High School baseball field as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All right. Any discussion on this? Any
The only
questions or comments?
Okay, the only thing I would tell you is that there's some maintenance needed with these, and it has been recommended that we have the engineer come and inspect them and then give us an idea of where to go from there as far as just renovating and the electrical pieces that go to the baseball field. And certainly you receive a recommendation like that, you're going to act on it, and we are doing so, and this is for the inspection piece.
So the lights are staying apart. So this is just the actual wiring going up to it, right?
It is.
They're redoing the wiring and changing actually the way it goes to the lights. There were some issues with it being underground and as old as it is. And I believe they're also going to be able to reduce the amount of voltage that's going to the lights. And this will actually make it easier in the future if we decide to go with LED lighting. It will, all the preliminary work will be done, but there were some issues with some junctions and other things due to corrosion and
Standard maintenance stuff.
I don't know that you all have had an opportunity to meet Tony Ballou. Tony is in the back, and I asked Tony to be here to speak to this in the event because he certainly has more knowledge about this kind of work than I do. Tony, is there anything that you'd add there?
No, y'all pretty much covered it. It's just the wiring in the ground is so old. It's a lot higher voltage than we need for today's specs. By doing what we're doing, we'll actually put controls in another place, get rid of the transformers on the poles, downsize the voltage, and then since we did redone the lighting 2 years ago, there's no reason to go ahead and move into LEDs right now for the cost. So when we get ready to do that down the road, we'll already be set up for it.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8E, I recommend that the board approve the right-of-way agreement and special service agreement with the Birmingham Water Works Board pending the language be removed per Mr. Boone's written legal opinion regarding the indemnity of a third party.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the right-of-way agreement and special service agreement with the Birmingham Waterworks Board pending the language related to the indemnity of a third party be removed per Mr. Boone's written legal opinion. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second.
Second.
Mr. Boone, do you want to explain that?
I'd be glad
wording?
to. Yesterday, about noon, our general contractor at the construction project at East presented to Brennan Bell 2 what appear to be routine documents from the Birmingham Waterworks Board. Mr. Bell immediately sent those documents to me with the hopes that we could consider approval of both tonight. The first one is a right-of-way agreement for the installation of a 4-inch water pipe, and from a legal standpoint, I recommend that you approve that document tonight. The other document is for, and Brendan, if I get this wrong, is for a 6-inch pipe for fire protection, and that contract has language in it that requires this board to indemnify the Waterworks Board from any damages that anybody suffers, injury-wise or property damage-wise. It's my opinion, and it's always been my opinion, that governmental bodies cannot spend public funds to indemnify third parties based on A, our Constitution, and based on rulings by the Supreme Court of Alabama that say governmental bodies can spend governmental funds for public purposes and not for private purposes. And there are a few exceptions to that, but this is not one of them. So I don't approve recommendation of the document as written. My recommendation is, and I sent the document to the Waterworks Board yesterday with a copy of my opinion. And my recommendation to this board is approve the document, subject to and contingent upon the Waterworks Board removing the indemnity language, and that the superintendent be authorized and directed to sign the contract only when the document's been amended to remove that language.
Do we have any reason to think that they would not be agreeable to removing that language? Or?
You know, I would be reluctant to speak for the Waterworks Board. The question is, you know, they deal with municipalities and counties and school boards on a routine basis, and the Waterworks Board put the language in there, and I'm asking that it be removed, and we'll see.
Okay.
Why did it pop up this far into the project?
It was delivered yesterday is all I can say. Brennan, can you address that?
Yeah, the general contractor has to go to the Waterworks Board when they're ready to install these lines to get the materials, the vaults needed. It's a pretty standard procedure. Then the Waterworks Board then gives them something to sign. The general contractor signing part of the agreement, part of the language, and then the school board's supposed to sign the other part. This is just related to the easement, the right-of-way, just giving them access to be able to go in there and do this on your property. But they didn't, until the general contractor goes and presents that to the water board, it's usually not until the middle of the project when this occurs.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8F, I recommend that the board approve the foster care plan and dispute resolution plan as submitted.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the foster care plan and dispute resolution plan as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
You want to explain this?
This is a plan that is required by the state. You have to have a plan of action in the event that you have foster children in your school district, which we have. And then you have to have the means for dispute resolution if you cannot agree upon who is to pay expenses and things along those lines. So that's what this is. It is required. This is our plan. It's developed by committee, or was it outlined? Candace, help me with that, if you will.
There's very little leeway because of the requirements, but it did require us to collaborate with our neighboring LEAs and, of course, our VHR liaison.
Okay. So. And that's what you have in your packet.
Right. All right. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Item 8G, I recommend that the board approve the textbook adoption list as submitted, please.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the textbook adoption list as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
This is standard year by year as you have new classes or books need to be changed out. And it's required by the state that you have a process for the adoption of those books before you can order them and use them in your classrooms.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8H, I recommend that the board approve the principal employment contract for Alicia Hunsberger as submitted, please.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the principal employment contract for Alicia Hunsberger as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
The discussion is, as a first-year teacher, she had a one-year contract, and it was time to renew her contract for a new year. And we certainly wanted to amend her contract so that she would continue in her current position.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Right. Item 9, personnel. I recommend that the board approve the following personnel actions: resignations, transfers, reassignments, and employments, please.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the following personnel actions: resignations, transfers, reassignments, and employments. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? Talk about? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. The only update that I would have is that you just approved the employment of Tanya Roselle as the new principal of Liberty Park Middle School. She will actually be able to join us sooner than later to get acclimated to the school and to the staff, and we're excited about what she's going to be able to bring to the faculty at Liberty Park Middle, and I think you'll look forward to, I think you'll be excited when you meet her. She will be here at the July meeting after she gets transitioned in, and we will, I will recommend her contract at our next meeting. And we'll introduce her then. Other updates in general, I want to welcome, first of all, Sharon Moon and Katie Grace, both teachers in our system. They are a part of the Teacher Leader Program. We have introduced our teachers that have been involved in that program several times. And welcome to the board meeting. You picked a good one, not very long to come to. So welcome. They are superstars, as are the others that are a part of this group. They actually had a meeting this week. Did you all have it last week? Was it last week? They are working hard this summer, and again, two teachers that are going to bring a lot to not only their faculty but the district as a whole through the program that they are involved with. Couple of other updates. You all have probably seen in one form or another some of the right word, chaos at the State Department level, maybe. I don't know if you've read any of the articles that have been published about the difficulties that they are having with some of the discussions about the work that they are doing and how it is being conducted. Some of their work sessions are probably a little more interesting even than our own. But there are quite a few issues at the state level. Steve and I just got back from AASB, and then I stayed for the SSA, the Superintendent's Conference. Not a lot of light was shed on most things for us, but what I would suggest, though, is that, you know, the work that we are doing is, I've mentioned this before, it's pretty hard and takes quite a while for what is happening at the State Department to make it to the local school systems to be disruptive enough that the chaos really would come about in the work that we do, because your federal guidelines, your state guidelines, they're not changing that quickly. The one thing that is something that we're going to that we are already beginning discussions of is the fact that they are taking away the ACT Aspire for next year and moving us to Global Scholar. We are familiar with Global Scholar. It is something that they had offered for us to use in the past. There have been some upgrades to it, but it is an assessment that they are going to expect us to use next spring. We did share our voice as far as keeping the ACT Aspire in our district because of the relevance to our students and our families as far as what that can mean later and building toward the ACT, which of course many of our students, most of our students take. But it is what it is. That's the main shift and change for us. They are scrambling at the State Department, I guess, to kind of do what they need to do and keep business going as it ought to go. But we are involved in those updates and in the conversations as much as possible, not only on our behalf, but on those around us, constantly working with the other superintendents and school districts in our district, a very strong working relationship. And so if anything comes along that will impact us, there's a lot of conversation about, okay, how are they doing it? How do we anticipate that? An opportunity for us to collaborate together to make sure that there's this little disruption based on the way business is being conducted and handled right now, and I would say the controversies that the State Department is having itself. Along the same lines, we did receive our ACT Aspire scores finally. It took a little while to get there. There are still some anomalies that they have warned us about just this afternoon in the data. So we are holding on to that to go through it very carefully first for just a moment. They have not released the student reports to us yet. They are supposed to provide us with copies. But we have our school reports and those kinds of things, and we need some time to analyze that. We are expecting the student reports to be available or make it to us by mid-July, and we will, as quickly as we can, turn those around. J. Marie has already been working with the principals to develop a process to make sure that as soon as those make it to us and we can verify that the data is what it is supposed to be, then we will distribute those to our families. This is not something that we control other than just the distribution and verifying whether or not we have good information ourselves and the reports look as they should have for us, and then being able to report back to them if there is anything that is problematic as we see it, and being able to rectify the information that we're disseminating. So who knows? Hopefully we will get them when we are supposed to, and hopefully they will reflect what they need to, but we certainly will be communicating that as quickly and promptly as we can. I mentioned AASB and SSA. I talked with Steve about this. They no longer offer the whole point in our attendance for AASB is to participate in the new board member orientation. They no longer offer that through AASB, so I'm going to recommend that even though it's nice and there are some good nuggets and good keynote speakers and things like that, the relevance of that is not as great. I think that through the whole board training that we have scheduled through AASB is probably meeting our needs better than that would. So in the future, that will be something to consider. Is that really the right venue for the new board member to attend in order to get information that's going to help them better manage the new position that they've just signed on for? Steve, anything else you'd add about that?
I concur with you. I believe after sitting through a couple of days of it, it just wasn't a whole lot of information to glean from it. So.
Yeah, there are better ways of using our resources, in my opinion, and getting more for that. A couple of other items. We are working, the principals are of course keeping an eye on enrollment figures and numbers and working with us as far as adding additional units as necessary. Kindergarten, of course, at East and West are right up there as they are with Liberty Park Elementary, and watching those. We wait until we know that there are bodies there. We don't just project those numbers, but as has been the trend, the numbers of students that are enrolling is increasing, and we cannot build those classrooms fast enough, Brennan and Sean, and but once we do, I mean, we're going to be in very good shape. But Greg, of course, is helping us watch those numbers with additional units and funding. And so actually, when he talks about still being able to end the year with additional revenue in hand, that's always a good thing, because personnel is such a large part of the expenses that we have. Just so that you are aware, we are moving forward, just a little detail in case you hear about this. We have been providing a teacher shuttle for the teachers in our system who have children in our district. We have been providing a teacher shuttle for them, which has been a very good thing. It is very beneficial. It allows our teachers and staff to attend to their work longer. It just, you can imagine that it provides relief and worry about how am I going to get to my kids in timely in the afternoon and through traffic and still get my job done and do the things that I need to do. So we've been providing this service for a very long time, about 17 years, we're going to, right? And it is certainly something that we value and want to continue to do. It costs just below $60,000 typically, approximately, a year to provide this service. So we are about to ask our teachers who participate in this and have children to pay a very nominal fee to help offset the cost. We receive about $1.20 per mile in just fuel for our buses, not to mention the wear and tear and the mechanics and those kinds of things that are needed in order to do that, along with the volume of activities that our students and faculty, sponsors, coaches participate in. It is a significant expense, and even trying to get bus drivers who need to trade out if you need to substitute, those kinds of things. So we're about to, as a part of the being able to keep the service going, ask our teachers to pay $250 a day for a child to ride the teacher shuttle, and then half of that, $1.25, for additional children. We have teachers who have multiple children in our school system. And again, this is something we want to continue to do, but that will help offset some of this cost, at least for the fuel of the fuel cost for the teacher shuttle. So I just want you to be aware of that, as they sign up, we will be asking them, charging them just a very small fee for the service. Tim has talked with several of the teachers who participate in that, so they are, he has, filled that out, just to, filled it out to feel it, the whole thing, just to make certain that, this is something that we still value, still want to do, and this is an agreement that we are going to ask them to make with us. So, any questions about that?
What kind of feedback are we getting from the teachers on that, Tim?
The ones that I've spoken to are more than happy to pay that nominal fee to make sure that their children get to and from point A to point B.
Okay.
And like I said, the ones that I've talked to, they don't have a problem with it at all.
Is this just afternoon pickup and,
Yes.
It
and
is.
delivery to
It is.
Okay, it's not morning, just
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And dealing with the traffic, as we all know, who've
Right.
carpooled children, the service itself is something that we certainly want to continue to do. So just as an update there. Several dates that I need to share with you. July the 10th, Cahaba Heights is going to be having a grand opening. We did settle on that date, right, Alicia and Wet? A grand opening of the gym space. We're working with HPM and their PR team. Wit has been working, and Alicia have been working with them to set that up. We will also be having one at V-Help on August 9th. Is that for certain, Ty? August the 9th. For the new facility there. We are very excited about that. The one at Cahaba Heights will be noon. Invitations are about to go out, if they didn't already go out today.
They did.
Okay, already out today. And then B-Help will be during the Meet the Teacher during the evening hours, is that correct? And so that will be shared with everyone, and we're looking forward to inviting our community in to see the new facilities. Let's see, August the 7th is Institute. Just as a reminder, you all certainly are encouraged to attend and are invited. We begin that program promptly at 8:30. 8:30? What time?
8:30.
8:30.
Start at 8:30.
Start at 8:30. There's a light breakfast beforehand. It is at Mountaintop Church, but you'll be receiving more information and an invitation for that. But we ask that you come to be recognized and just support our teachers. It's the only time during the year that the entire faculty and staff are together, and it's just a kickoff for the school year. And it is not only, we hope, to be inspirational and have everybody back refreshed and well rested, but also a time to have a little bit of fun together as well. So it doesn't last very long, but we would ask that you attend that. We're working on the annual report. which will be another level of, we developed for accountability purposes and to share the story of the previous year. That would be, we are hoping to have the draft completed and begin printing and have those back the end of July,
Draft, the
August.
first July, 24th would be the first draft, but we are waiting on some scores. AP scores will be embargoed, and until they give us that
The middle of
green
August,
light,
yes.
it's typically the middle of August. As soon as those AP scores are out, they will be dropped into the annual report, and it will go to print. It takes about 2 weeks from that point forward to get the annual report, but this will be the earliest we've ever gotten it out, so we're super excited. We hope that it may actually be out maybe by the last week of August would be our anticipated time to put that in everyone's hands.
So that you are aware, on August 8th, I've been asked to give a State of the Schools address at the Chamber Luncheon, and that, of course, you are invited to that. The speaking part begins typically at noon. Lunch is at 11:30, 11:45 is when they typically begin serving. If you would like to go, if you'll just let Pat know, and she will reserve a place for you with the Chamber if you do not already ordinarily go. In July, to precede that, in July, I will actually be presenting to you a state of the status from last year. I will go over that a bit, so you'll have many opportunities to hear about where we've been and where we are, where we're going. We actually had that on the agenda for this evening, but in light of all the other things that we had going on, I felt that July was a better time to discuss that with Nancy. We agreed, and so I'll do about a 10-15 minute presentation of a mini version of the State of the Schools at the July meeting. And then the only other thing I have, and Brennan actually mentioned this, we have started some really walking through and talking about the Berry campus. Our next step is to actually have a team from the high school, the 9th grade team in particular, walk through with us. I will let you know when we are going to do that, so that if you can and are interested and want to walk through with us at any point, or we can set that up, I'll be inviting the PTO to walk through once we get back in place, and others will have an opportunity to walk through the campus with us. It's just every time you walk through, it just opens up so much opportunity for what we can do in alleviating the growth issues that we have and the services that we'll be able to provide to our students, and make it a stellar place to teach and to learn. That's all I have, unless you all have anything else for me and know of anything that I'm forgetting, and a lot going on.
Sure is. All right, our last order of business will be to invite public comment. We ask that you limit your comments to agenda items, that you come to the podium and state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes if possible. Do we have any comments? Sure, Kimberly. Yeah.
Kimberly Cook, 4487 Galen Way. I just wanted to make sure that the board's aware that we are having an annexation review committee meeting tomorrow evening, and Steve's been appointed as the liaison from the board. But I just wanted to emphasize how important it is to have good input from the school board about these annexations. We have a case that we're going to be reviewing that involves a small new neighborhood. And being the one who votes on those annexations and has to give some input, we always get negative feedback from folks when we add new homes. At least right now we do. I hear a lot of negative feedback, but it's really important to me to hear good information from you guys about what the schools can handle for those annexations. So I just wanted to emphasize how important that is and how much we appreciate your input, and we do value it. So hope that Steve, we look forward to having Steve join us to kind of weigh in from the school board side of things, but I wanted to let him know that.
Thank you, Kimberly. Sheila and I have both reviewed that proposal, and we'll discuss it with Steve too before he comes tomorrow night to the meeting. Thank you. All right, there being no further business to come before this board, we stand adjourned.